Hi, Caroline Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I'm standing with the wonderful Rebecca Ledbetter in front of her lovely piece, which will be in the Changeling Show from now through November 20th. Rebecca, could you introduce us to your piece?
Sure. So this piece is entitled Every Goodbye at Once. It's inspired by a poem by Leav, who's a modern day poet. And the way I really thought about this was it's a little bit sad, but also a little bit joyful. As you kind of see, it has a lot of layers, some dark colors and some light colors that come out of it. I wanted to kind of rethink of the word goodbye as a different pathway you can take. So, like when they say when one door closes, another opens, I kind of want to take that same idea here. So that's kind of what I thought with this, with creating different shapes, kind of make it more like thinking of the space within it and pushing and pulling different parts of it out of it. Kind of to denote the idea of when you have forks in the road and you take a different one, it's not always bad, might be good, but it could also be sad.
Yeah, there's something very nuanced about it. And also, like when you think of goodbyes in the grand scheme of your life, like someone that you love, you say goodbye to over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and sometimes those goodbyes are happy and sometimes those goodbyes are sad. And so every goodbye all at once shows an amazing depth of like feeling and nuance.
Right, exactly. And yeah, like I said, I wanted, especially when you only have forms and colors with an abstract piece, I wanted to take away that idea of like goodbye, sadness equals blue, melancholy, and kind of play around with different sets of colors, different layers and shadows within that piece.
Yeah, it's a really nice, you have really nice depth here. And it's nice how you have disparate colors, but they swirl.
Yes.
They don't pop. They work together in like a very ephemeral way.
Right. Yep. So yeah, kind of my process with doing it, I kind of really get into that idea of the poem, of the piece, the narrative piece, and kind of sketch out what those beats are within the canvas.
I love that.
The beats of the poem, the beats of the narrative quote, and kind of outline that in this like very like narrative way within the colors, within the space of the canvas. And then kind of from there, kind of keep layering and shadowing and kind of pushing and pulling.
Yeah.
So the viewer can actually look at it and kind of see different moments.
Well, and you have nice texture that pops forward, and there's some areas that are more matte and some areas that have more, like my mom calls it juicy paint.
Yes, I heard that.
I had never heard it until this week. She's like, artists say it all the time. And I was like, I have listened for 41 years and I have never heard you say it.
Right, yeah.
But it does have like nice juicy paint and textures and things like that. It's also impressive because you're working small and you have a lot of strong colors here, and yet they're so nicely balanced, which is hard to do sometimes on such a small piece. How did you approach it that way?
Yeah, so I like to kind of work in a variety of sizes. Sometimes I always have a lot to say, so sometimes I need a bigger canvas to kind of denote that. But yeah, with the small canvas, I had, when I was making this, I wanted to keep it very to this like page of a book kind of size, like reading it like that. But yeah, I kind of approached it knowing I want to use so many colors. I want to use a lot of different colors. I want to be able to create more space within because of the shadows and things like that. So I kind of approached it with that thought in mind, and wanting to keep it within the space that was in.
When you're starting a piece, how do you have a plan? Like I know you said you mapped out the beats and things like that. Do you do that as you're going? Do you do that before? How do you kind of approach that?
So I kind of start with an initial like sketch on the canvas, and I like to leave room to have it grow.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's these really great moments.
Yeah.
As an artist, you do it from feelings. You're not just doing it because you want to, it's because you kind of need to.
Well, it also evolves naturally.
And it evolves,
We were talking about this with an artist yesterday, that if you're too tight, it doesn't allow for that adaptability that makes it feel natural and extends.
Right.
Like having an extension of feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to allow it to be able to develop, for other color choices to come in. I work on a lot of different pieces at once.
Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of, depending on what the mood is or like what needs to be said, and sometimes I end up discovering other color palettes because of that. Like these yellows ended up being in a different piece, but I really loved it as the final layer to make it.
How many different like umbers and yellows do you have in here? Because there's so like there's here. There's like an umber here. So this is a bunch. Like how big is your palette?
It's I'm trying to think. I usually lay out like 30 colors. I have all my like favorites, of course.
So that's very nuanced.
Yeah, so I have a lot of different colors, and like with this one, I can't even tell because I mixed a bunch, but there's at least 10 different tubes of colors in this one. But I like to have a lot of choices.
Well, it's really interesting because another piece that'll be in the show that's called, I'm looking at it. Just bring it over. Okay. A deeply hidden and inarticulate desire. What's interesting about this one is you're working with very limited, like you're working mostly with yellow. So Rebecca's palette is incredibly interesting. Am I still in frame? Is incredibly interesting because you work both with tons of color. I'm not gonna block you. With tons of color and then limited, and they're both very effective, which I think is something that you should definitely come and see. Rebecca has 3 pieces in this show, and we hope that you will come and see them at Powell Arts, and we will, of course, include a little image of the 3rd piece in this video. So hopefully you're seeing that now. Rebecca, thank you so much.
Thank you.